Good morning, good evening, or maybe even good afternoon, wherever you are in your day. Welcome to our chatty episode. We are so happy to have you with us.
Yeah, Zippy, we very much are, especially because this is one of my favorite episodes to record. Our inspiration for this episode came partly from the pop culture and news podcasts we know and love, and partly from the random ridiculousness that is my Google News feed.
During every chatty recording, G is going to dive into her Google News bag of goodies and plop something silly on the table for us to discuss. It could be anything from a gossip article detailing a new rift created between members of the royal family, information about a Vampire Diaries star's first baby, or why Matt Hancock keeps popping up when Google knows she's not interested in reading about him.
My darling Zippy, are you excited to see what I have in store for you today for our first one?
I can't wait. I'm here in my dressing gown, ready, wintry themed. Well, it's not wintry themed, it's just a regular old John Lewis, but it's I assure you I am prepared.
Excellent. I'm glad you're prepared. I'm glad you're cozy because this is going to be a more cozy kind of episode. You need to be warm, you need to be fuzzy, and you need to be ready for it. We're kind of going Christmas themed for a
Mm.
few of these, or certainly this episode is going to be Christmas themed. So this week, we're going to be chatting about the NCCU, which I'm going to explain a little later, particularly the Hudgens paradox, which is all going to sound a bit random to anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about. But don't worry, it really is going to be explained in a minute.
Well, I do hope so.
There's honestly, it's the craziest movie rabbit hole I've been down for in a while. So just wait for it. It's going to take me a sec to be able to explain all of this information, but I
Oh,
promise you, it's
God.
worth it in its ridiculousness.
What am I in for?
Okay, so first of all, do you have any idea what the NCCU is?
A short answer to that would be no.
So the NCCU is the Netflix Christmas cinematic universe. And last year, Netflix officially announced its existence. It's kind of like the Marvel universe in that it has rules, right? Any of these TV universes, they
Right.
have rules that you have to follow. So I came across a Wired article in my news
Sorry.
bag this
I'm
week. I
so
know it's
sorry.
so strange.
I just thought you wanted a response from me. Then I was like, I don't know how to respond to the idea of a Christmas universe that has rules. Like, okay, people, there are rules here and you need to follow
Oh
them.
yeah,
Sorry.
you have to. This is honestly, this is going to be the whole episode. This is how weird it
Oh
is, and
my
I
God.
I love it so much. I picked this because I was like, this is gonna trigger you so hard.
I
Am I
know.
ready
Can you
for
feel
it?
it? I feel it.
I feel it. But I need you to be so
um,
involved because I need you to talk about the weird world that this is with me.
to be fair, you did warn me that I had to just like go with
I
the, you were
did.
like, go with the flow. It's a
Yeah.
Christmas themed episode. We got to do, yeah, like I'm fine. I'm ready. I have my dressing gown, like I
Yeah,
said. Oh,
exactly.
deep
You're
breath.
pre-warned.
Yeah.
Right. So I came across a Wired article in my news bag this week entitled "The Netflix Christmas Cinematic Universe is Being Torn Apart" by Amelia Tait. I
Uh,
just didn't know where to begin with this. I looked at it and was like, what is
what?
happening? And do you remember I commented to you the other day when we were thinking about watching Christmas movies how Vanessa Hudgens is in like all of these Christmas movies? And I was looking, I was like, it's a Vanessa freaking Hudgens Christmas. It's
Yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
over
And
Netflix.
there seemed to be a
So
series.
she,
I didn't realize that it like it. I remember there being like one movie, and I was like, "Oh my God, Vanessa Hudgens, where have you been?" And then
uh,
suddenly I looked this year, and there were like four different movies, and I was like, "There's a
what?
little bit of me wanted to go and like watch every single one of them, and a bit of me was like, don't go there, don't do it to
Yeah.
yourself."
Oh no, I think you should. I've watched 3 out of 4, and we had plans to watch the fourth one soon. So
We
you just
did,
you
we
just
did,
wait. The
yeah, we
Hudgens
did.
paradox is about to be explained. So context. There's a lot of context. So give me a hot sec to describe this to you. This article is basically saying that between the A Christmas Prince trilogy, The Princess Switched and its 2020 sequel, and The Night Before Christmas, Netflix has basically ripped a hole in their Christmas cinematic universe. So, A Christmas Prince, with one of my favorite actresses in it, she's the main lead in iZombie, Rose something, I
Rose
think it is.
something.
Can't remember
I
exactly her name.
zombie.
Give me a live
Cast.
Google.
This is when we do our live Google, everybody. You are so, it's Rose McIver. Rose. Her name
So
is
I was
Rose
really
anyway.
close.
Her name is Rose.
Yes, her name is Rose. So A Christmas Prince with
Rose
Rose
McIver.
McIver in it is featured on TV as a fictional movie in The Princess Switch, which is odd because they're both in the same universe, so it's not supposed to be fictional. It's in the NCCU universe. And they even mention Aldovia, where a Princess Switch is set in A Christmas Prince. So they completely blend reality and fiction with that one. Then, in A Christmas Prince, they show up at the coronation in The Princess Switch. So the couple in a Christmas Prince, Rose McIver and her prince husband, show up in person in a Princess Switch,
But
even
it's
though
fictional.
they're supposed to be fake. Yeah, which
Oh,
defies logic once more. I mean, this Wired article then accepts that okay, maybe because the Christmas Prince is actually a documentary, this can all make sense. Maybe these people are real and the movie wasn't fictional, it was a documentary. Maybe this is an NCCU documentary universe. It's not all fake, documentary stuff. The avid fans have realized that an ornament from A Christmas Prince shows up in another NCCU movie, The Night Before Christmas, which is the one we were going to watch, which means that that movie too must be a documentary because it must follow the NCCU documentary precedent. And if it does, we have quite a bit to worry about. Here's a quote from the article. The Night Before Christmas status as a documentary is deeply upsetting, not just because the documentary, features a woman known literally and only as Old Crone, but because at the end of
that's
the
so
doc, our night
harsh.
I know, but because at the end of the doc, our night protagonist Sir Cole hints that he's going to join his local 21st century Ohio police department. This police department previously praised Sir Cole for holding a sword to the throat of a teenage mugger. So we can now establish two things. One, time travel is a canon in the NCCU. And two, the people of the NCCU need to defund the police.
Oh my goodness. This is intense.
So
I just
it's so ridiculous.
only in your Google newsfeed could an article like this come up, I feel, that you would then be like, yeah, that's Google, spot on. Matt Hancock, no, I don't think so, Google. You've got this all wrong.
I don't know about
But
him. I need to know about the
NCCU, which sounds
NCCU
like
universe.
it sounds like some kind of like environmental group or like a civil rights group, but actually it's the Netflix Christmas universe.
Yeah,
God.
you would not believe the amount of stress I had last night writing all this down and making sure that it was legible because A Christmas Prince, The Princess Switched, The Night Before Christmas, they all sound the same, and trying to differentiate while I spoke was ridiculous. And then with all this comes, of course, the most confusing element, which is Vanessa Hudgens, the bloody Vanessa Hudgens paradox. Are you ready for this?
Go on.
Not only are there 3 Hudgens doppelgangers by the end of A Princess Switched Again, the sequel, her presence in The Night Before Christmas means that there are 4 lookalikes in the NCC universe and no one really cares. Like, we know how important doppelgangers are in the Vampire Diaries, right? But it seems that at Christmas time, no one seems to give a shit.
The Vampire Diaries is just doppelgangers is the theme of the whole thing for like 15 series or whatever it is. And no shade, Vampire Diaries, you are definitely superior to Twilight and you are one of my favorite series. Definitely my favorite vampire series, so no shade. But this is just insane. It's just like we're just going to throw something out there and we're going to pretend it didn't happen and it's not actually relevant, but it's there.
Yeah.
What kind of writing is that? What kind of consistency is that? This is why I find these things unwatchable.
Exactly. What is going on? I mean, some of them are relatively enjoyable, but you're watching it and you're kind of like, you know, especially the documentary precedent, you're watching it and you're like, this cannot be real. If you dive into this, you can't have this as real life. Like, if it's fake and it's happy and whatever, like, that's brilliant. But if it's not, it just throws up a whole load of questions that I'm not sure I even want to answer. And honestly, my favorite part of this was the article. It is absolutely scathing at times. I have some of my favorite quotes written out here, so let me jump into those. Thankfully, mapping the NCCU like this does help explain 2019's previously inexplicable A Christmas Prince, the Royal Baby. The movie sees Queen Amber, Rose McIver, fearful that a deadly curse will befall her firstborn baby. She freaks out about it so much that she faints in front of other dignitaries. In a universe where magic calendars and hunky time-traveling knights and witchy crones don't exist, Amber's behavior is properly out of order. In a universe where Amber has watched the panorama, the holiday calendar, and the night before Christmas, like, she's a totally reasonable head of state, isn't she? Like, this is, the article is just absolutely, it just outlines all of my worries and concerns with this.
It just makes the whole thing. It's like bad. Do you remember Clinton's cards? Used to make, was it Clinton's films? Do you remember, like, there was a card? No, Hallmark movies. You know, the Hallmark movies that did all the Christmas ones every year, and they just
No,
released a bunch of Christmas. It's so back in the day when I was a young'un. Back in the day, Hallmark used to release. They probably still do all these Christmas films every single year, and they're called the Hallmark cards. They're like Christmas cards in movie form, and they always follow a terrible, crappy, rubbish format that nobody really wants to sit through. And if you can manage 90 minutes of this movie, you are a true champion. And it normally takes a lot of Baileys.
Doesn't every Christmas film?
Well, there are some really good ones. Like, think about The Family Stone, which you haven't seen. Incredible Christmas movie, starring Sarah Jessica Parker and Scarlett Johansson. It's a brilliant movie. I highly recommend, if you haven't seen it, find a way to watch it. Rent the movie if you can afford to. It's just so good. And then what's the one we watched the other day? We watched a really funny one, very entertaining, also very bizarre. The dog ended up being the narrator. Spoiler alert. Oh gosh, I should put that spoiler at the beginning.
Funny. Oh yeah, don't. It was called Christmas with the Cooks.
It's on Netflix.
It is on Netflix. I'll put it in the show notes. I mean, I'm a massive Christmas movie fan. I love them. To be honest, I would watch, like I said, all of these Vanessa Hudgens movies. I don't really care about the timelines and this, that, and the next thing, but there are always going to be those movies that people get so into, like the Marvel movies and things, and they're so into it because of all these rules and the way things interlink and the way things cross over. And
can I interrupt you for a second?
I think that's some of the fun part of things. Can
I interrupt you for a second? People love the Marvel intricacies and the way that things are done, but that's because they actually put some work into it. They put proper planning, proper story building, proper CGI. You cannot compare the Netflix Christmas movie with Vanessa. Sorry. But you cannot compare it to the Marvel universe. And I'm not even a Marvel fan. I don't particularly enjoy watching them. Well, apart from, I love Thor. Thor can come get me any day. Could come swing his hammer at me. But like...
Oh my god, I just got that. I got that really late.
Maybe we'll edit that out. Or maybe we won't. That's the joy of this podcast.
I mean, come on. I absolutely don't mean that the Netflix Christmas cinematic universe is the best thing since Marvel. Obviously not. But I do think it's hilarious that they've tried to create one.
I just think it's outrageous.
Diehard fans have poked so many holes in it already.
I know,
it's ridiculous.
But the fact that I suppose everything's going to have diehard fans, but I just feel like, back to the kind of the Hallmark thing, I feel like Netflix are trying to replace Hallmark in the shite Christmas movie. They're actually doing a better job of it than Hallmark are. Their movies are kind of watchable sometimes. Like, I am not going to lie. I have on occasion happened to sit down and maybe might have watched The Night Before Christmas, and I just maybe might have watched that first Vanessa Hudgens one. Small confession.
I mean, I unashamedly have watched all of them except
The
A
last
Night
one.
Before Christmas, and that is solely because I said that I'd watch it with you at some point.
Yeah, that's true.
I've
But
watched all of the Christmas Princes, all three of them. They're terrible. First one, all right. Second one is about the engagement. Third one is about the baby, and it's just, oh
there,
my god,
there must be a
oh my
reason that
god.
mugs like us keep coming back to it. There must be a reason why we're still
Well, they're
tuning in.
they're feel good and predictable, aren't they? Like, at the beginning there's going to be this thing that needs to be fixed. So like Christmas needs to be fixed, or Christmas spirit needs to be fixed, or if it's based around Christmas, something's happening, something needs to be sorted. They're going to seem like they're not going to sort it near the end, and then obviously they're always going to have the happy ending. And a lot of the time, if you've got some actors or actresses you quite like, and it's set in a random place, and they have some comedy within it, like that can be a quite nice, easy watching. You don't have to be that emotionally invested. It just follows the basic structure, and at the end of the day, you come out the other side feeling a bit warm and gooey.
Or like an hour of your life is gone and it will never be reclaimed.
I enjoy watching these more than I enjoyed watching Twilight. Okay.
Oh, now that was 3 hours of my life that I'll never get back. 3 hours, it felt
Yeah,
long.
absolutely.
Especially is
And
it the fourth movie? God, that's the worst movie ever. You cannot
this
get
bit,
worse
I
than that.
liked the second half. I like the second
You like
half.
the
I
second
think that's the
half.
best of the. I think that's the best of the four. The
And
second half of the fourth one.
that's not saying much though, is it?
Absolutely not.
I'm
Absolutely not. I mean, in terms of these ones, I actually did like the first Princess Switch. I thought it was relatively interesting. I thought there were some funny elements. I liked the baking aspect. It was quite cute,
it's
and
cute.
the way they had to twist it. Vanessa Hudgens is a very decent actress. That's what I thought throughout the whole thing. I was like, you were doing a very good job. But this article does comment, how many Hudgens can one universe hold? And I don't know the answer to that question. I
I
don't know if enough Hudgens is enough.
I guess Netflix is going to tell us.
She was in the news not that long ago, and people weren't very happy with her, but I can't remember why.
Is it time for another live Google?
I think it might be. You live Google while I give
I'll
my
live
last favorite quote
Google.
from the article. So the NCCU is a place where it's entirely normal and not at all notable if four women have exactly the same face. It's a place where the scourge of police brutality has not yet been eradicated, and it's a place where magic and time travel exist, but both are widely considered to be less remarkable than a woman wearing both a ball gown and Converse. That quote sums up how I feel about these movies and absolutely encapsulates the brilliance of this Wired article, which, as I said, was written by, let me go back, Amelia Tait. So thank you, Amelia Tait, for providing me some
Yes.
confusing
Yeah.
confusing entertainment.
It truly proves that you can just about do a deep dive analysis on anything. But
I
I
hope
like
it
that she
provided people with some light-hearted
I know. And
laugh.
right, and as I was Googling, I did remember immediately why she got into trouble. She made a
You
very
did,
insensitive COVID comment on her
right.
Instagram and she had to apologize for it. So she said she told fans, even if everyone gets it, like, yeah, people are going to die, which is terrible, but inevitable. Uh,
Oh,
and
Vanessa.
it might have
No,
just kind of not hit the
yeah, that's
tone.
not the one. That's
And
not the one. Oh,
so she said that she first said her comments were taken out of context. The actor now says that her words were not appropriate at all. So she has come back and said they weren't appropriate. She said, I'm so sorry for the way I've offended anyone. I realize my words are insensitive and not at all appropriate for the situation in our country. This has been a huge wake up call about the significance that my words have. Poor old Vanessa Hudgens. She just wants to be in a Netflix movies.
I
And she
know.
just wants to do a nice Christmas films.
I'm pretty sure she slipped up multiple times, like either before or since as well. She was getting a lot of shit at one point. This is what my news bag was full of, I think, at the beginning of lockdown. Even for the past few years, people have really slated her for stuff. And I find it to be a little bit like, I know she's definitely up a few
Mm.
times. But she's a big platform, and was she not a child star? Am I lying,
She was
Vanessa
very
Hudgens?
young, certainly, when she did High
Very
School
young,
Musical. Like they're very young, and Zac Efron was also. When you look at him then and you look at him now, they're just like different people. I mean,
completely different.
it amazing, but yeah. Well, it's I can't say that I'm grateful that I know this much about the NCCU, but it's going to be my fun fact at my next online Christmas party. I'll be like,
Oh my
fun
God,
fact.
please, please use it. If anyone has found any of this interesting or useful or surprising, I have done my job. And if you watch any of these movies, let me know what you think. Let me know how ridiculous they are. Treat them as documentaries and then come back to me and tell me how mad they have developed these movies.
Good luck. I mean, I suppose we do all have a lot more time on our hands now to be doing things like going on Netflix and treating the Christmas movies like documentaries and analysing them for fun.
Why not?
Why not? Why
I
not?
think it's great.
Go
Well, I
with
think
it.
that's all we have. I think that's all we have time for today. I think having gone through this, I found it quite entertaining. I think you found it quite overwhelming, but
Ah,
it was an interesting
it was
episode.
an interesting episode. I dread to think what's going to come up on your Google News feed next.
I can't wait to tell you.
Ugh. Thanks, guys. See you
Thank
next
you. We'll be back soon.
time. Bye.
Bye.